Welcome back to Key Top Takes. And on today's show, we're going to do sizzling headlines. I'm going to recap all the local high school teams in this area that competed in the state playoffs last night, tell you who survived, who didn't, and which one of our local high school teams is getting ready to go up against a powerhouse, two-time defending state champ that has won 33 straight games. I'll preview that a little bit, and then I'm going to get into the Daunte Wright situation, the Caron Nazario situation, and the young black boy in Columbia, South Carolina, who was harassed by Army Sergeant. And we're going to get into all that and much, much more. Let's get it. So to start out this, we're going to start in the 4A playoff bracket. So the first game we're going to talk about is Grimsley advancing over East Forsyth 27-13. This was East Forsyth's first playoff loss since 2017. As we know, East Forsyth has won the last two 4A state championships in football. So they're fairly young, so I wasn't surprised by this considering that East has ended Grimsley's season the last 2 years, and Grimsley got a little payback earlier this season when they played, and then they got some more last night against an East team that's fairly young, mostly sophomores and juniors, so I expect them to bounce back in the fall and probably start dominating 4A football again. Also in their bracket, Glenn lost 42-7 to Butler. Butler just took them to the cleaners. As we know, Winston teams, we normally don't do good against Charlotte teams. And one thing I would tell you is you cannot make mistakes against the Charlotte teams because they're very disciplined. They don't make a lot of mistakes and they run their systems like a machine. And looking at the highlights last night, Glenn had a few turnovers, made a few mistakes, and you can't make those type of mistakes against a good ball club like Butler. And yeah, I think that really is what hurt Glenn last night. I was surprised this wasn't a little closer because Glenn is dynamic on offense and their defense is really good, really physical, but Butler was just too strong, too powerful, and Butler won that one 42-7. Butler moves on to play number 2 Providence, and I forgot to mention earlier, but Grimsley advances to play Hillside out of Durham next Friday. So that's all for that bracket. We'll move down to the 3A AA bracket. Dudley pulled off the upset last night 28-8 over the number 1 seed Watauga. This was a little surprising, but I kind of had a feeling that Dudley was going to go up there and pull off the upset, but I didn't expect it to be a blowout. If I remember correctly, Watauga kind of runs that triple option offense, and seems like Dudley really shut it down last night, holding them to 8 points. Dudley moves on to face TC Roberson out of Asheville, so good luck to them. And I was surprised Watauga was the number 1 seed considering Mount Tabor, who I'm about to talk about, and Weddington, both of them were undefeated, but Watauga had one loss to TC Roberson, and they were still awarded the number 1 seed. I'm really not sure how that worked out. Yeah, I don't feel like they should have got the number 1 seed, but hey, they did, and they ran into a very good Dudley team whose only loss was to Mount Tabor, and it's a chance if Mount Tabor and Dudley win next week, they could face off again in the regional final. Mount Tabor is 5-0 against Dudley since they started playing each other a couple years ago. So can Dudley finally break this curse against Mount Tabor? If they do meet up again, we shall see. But on the topic of Mount Tabor won last night 36-7 over Alexander Central. Mount Tabor really dominated last night, even though they gave up 260 rushing yards. The first half was a really ugly first half. It seemed like the refs, you could tell who they really wanted to win, because although I didn't agree with most of the calls that they called on Tabor on that long 8-minute drive to end the first half, Mount Tabor, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, you cannot make those mistakes against Weddington next week. One thing I do know about Weddington, they don't make a lot of mistakes and they're very sharp, and if you make mistakes like that against Weddington, you will pay. So that's just a heads up. I know Coach Brown is gonna make sure that they hone in on that this week. Mount Tabor on offense, they're really starting to click, have a lot of weapons, have a lot of speed. So we shall see how they fare against the 2-time defending state champions, Weddington. It'll be at home next Friday, 7:30. I may have to pull up on and watch that game because that could be really interesting, because Weddington, they haven't lost since 2018, September 28th, 20-0 over Charlotte Catholic. That was their last loss. And yeah, Weddington, they just been dominant. And these teams met 3 years ago in the Final Four, if I'm not, yeah, the Final Four. And Weddington beat Mount Tabor 45-12. So Mount Tabor will be looking for some payback. Defensively is Mount Tabor's calling card they lean on. Mount Tabor, I can go ahead and tell you, Weddington is going to probably load the box and try to make Tyrese McIntyre beat them, who is Mount Tabor's quarterback. They're going to take away the running game, I guarantee you, because if I was a coach, that's what I would do. I would put 8 or 9 in the box and make Tyrese McIntyre prove that he can beat me with his arm. And if he does, I go to midfield. Well, they don't do that because of COVID, but you know, I would just tip my hat to him and they won if he can beat me that way. But I'm not letting his brother BJ McIntyre and Kobe Perez beat me. So I guarantee you that's what Weddington is going to do. So it's pretty simple for Mount Tabor. Can they move the ball against Weddington, who doesn't give up a lot of points, and can their defense slow down Weddington's offense? So we shall see. I'll preview that game on next week's podcast. So tune in for that. And finally, in the 1A bracket, Winston-Salem Prep lost to Robbinsville 42-40 in double overtime. I spoke with their coach last night on Instagram. He was not very happy. According to him, the refs cheated them. I'm not surprised because when me and my teammates went down there in 2015, they did the same thing to us. Just very hard to beat those mountain schools, or I should say those small town schools, I should say, just because it's just the refs aren't going to let you beat them. I don't know what it is, but they're just not going to let you beat them. I'll leave it at that. Robbinsville hasn't lost since 2018. Last night was their 23rd straight win, so I hate that for Prep. They took Robbinsville to the wire. I was really impressed. They got down early 12-0, and then they just battled back, and I'm extremely proud of those guys, and they have nothing to hang their heads about. They left it all out on the field and just keep their heads up. It happened to us in 2015, and unfortunately it happened to y'all again last night. So that does it for Sizzling Headlines. Now let's move on to I'm Fed Up.
Since we color, we ain't got no privilege. Since we color, we ain't really got no meaning. Since we color, they kill us for no reason. No, I ain't going for that. My ancestors been fighting for too long for that.
I want to thank the Rez Deshaun for bringing us into I'm Fed Up. That song is titled Burn It Down. That's off his album Pain 3. So I want to thank him for bringing us in to this topic, I'm Fed Up. So last Saturday, I am editing my podcast, and I finally watched all the video of Army Lieutenant Caron Nazario being harassed by Windsor police in Virginia, and I was pretty traumatized. I kind of regret in the whole video. So in case you missed it, in case you haven't heard, Army Lieutenant Caron Nazario driving down the street. I think they said it was about 1 a.m. and he got flagged by these cops. He drove an additional 2 miles to a well-lit gas station. I can't blame him because if I'm getting stopped at 1 a.m. in the morning, I probably wouldn't want it to happen in a dark area. I would also want it to be in a well-lit area. And basically, cops, they have their guns drawn on him. Mind you, this is somebody who's serving our country and protecting us. This is how they treated him. And pepper sprayed him. They threatened him. And I was reading an article last week. He's suing the Windsor Police Department. And the article said he's not doing well. And I can't imagine that he's doing well after going through something like this, especially emotionally and mentally. But why don't we hear a little bit of this altercation?
I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I ask you what's going on?
Get out now.
I have not committed any crimes.
You're being stubborn, trying to violate. You're not cooperating at this point right now. You're under arrest for. You're being detained. Okay, you're being detained for.
Now, Nazario, excuse me. You can hear him clearly saying, I'm afraid to get out. I cannot blame him, honestly. 2 officers have guns drawn at him. And what disturbed me the most is when he said that, the officer said, you should be. And I was like, wow, this is a pretty messed up country we live in. And then eventually the officer pepper sprays him several times. Apparently he had a dog in the car and the dog was choking too. I didn't hear the dog, but I doubt he would lie about something like that. But yeah, man, that one just really messed me up. That's how we treat somebody that's serving our country, man. praying for Lieutenant Caron Nazario. Hopefully, these officers pay for what they did to him. I was glad to find out that the officer who pepper sprayed Captain Army Lieutenant Caron Nazario fired. Hopefully, charges are pressed against him. And I can't blame Captain Army Lieutenant Caron Nazario because he said he was afraid if he went down to unbuckle his seatbelt that they were going to shoot and kill him. So can't blame him for feeling like that, especially when guns are drawn on him as soon as he arrives at the gas station. And just a really, really troubling situation. Disturbing, honestly. I was really traumatized after watching that video. If you haven't seen it, I would not recommend watching the whole video because it's going to traumatize you. So, yeah, and then we moved to Monday when some even more disturbing news happened. So Daunte Wright, 20 years old, got pulled over because he had too many air fresheners on his rearview mirror. He's taken out of his car. A rookie detective is putting handcuffs on him, and then Kim Potter, who's been serving on the Brooklyn City Police Department for 26 years, puts her hand on him, and that's when Daunte kind of gets a little nervous. He starts, moving, trying to get away from them. He gets back in his car. His girlfriend is in the passenger seat, and Kim Potter thinks that she is grabbing her stun gun to calm down Daunte Wright, but instead she grabs her gun and shoots him one time, fatally killing him. I just don't understand how you could mistake a taser for a gun. A taser is much lighter. They look totally different. Apparently she had both of her taser and her gun on the same side. That's a no-no. And yeah, I just don't buy this bogus excuse of she got mixed up and she's been a police officer for 26 years. And my whole point is you pulled him over because he had too many air fresheners on his rearview mirror. And why are your guns drawn on him? Like, I don't understand why these cops are so trigger happy with us. When these white people threaten them, pull guns on them, commit these mass murders with these mass shootings, they're brought out alive, or they're not brought out alive. They obviously kill themselves during these shootings. So I just want to know why it's so different for us that these officers have their guns drawn on us, but with these white people, calm, they let them threaten them. I saw several incidents over the weekend that really, really disturbed me. One was where a 61-year-old man in Minnesota had an officer on his car door. He drove off with the officer on his car door. He was able to live and tell about it. Now imagine if that person was black. Just imagine. It would have never got that far. That person was, thankfully, he was arrested. But I want to know why they pull their guns on us. They're so aggressive with us. But with these white people, they're so calm. And they let them get away with stuff we couldn't even think about getting away with. And like I said, with the mass shooting, think about the one we had a couple weeks ago in Boulder, Colorado. Guy kills 10 people. They bring him out. They shoot him in the leg. He's brought out alive. Go back to 2012 in Aurora, Colorado, where Elijah McClain lost his life 7 years later. But to focus on the first situation, 2012, when James Holmes shot up the movie theater, killing all those people, injuring all those people, they brought him out alive. He's still alive. He killed all those people, injured all those people. Or flash forward to the Las Vegas shooting when that old white man shot all those people and then went in a room and turned the gun on himself. Or we think about the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting. So I just need to understand why these police officers are so trigger happy with black people, but yet these white people are able, some of them, they don't turn the gun on themselves, are able to live after they commit such heinous acts. Or think about Dylan Roof, who killed those 9 people in that church in Charleston, South Carolina. Me and my family, we went by the church where he committed that heinous act. You want to know what they did for him in Shelby, North Carolina? They bought him Burger King. Yes, you heard me right. I can't tell you how frustrating, how upsetting that was to hear that. And then to hear our president talk about black people, they don't need to be looting and stuff like that. I'll say to him what I said to my friend the other day. I personally don't agree with looting, but those people that loot, you can build those buildings back. But I can't get George Floyd back. I can't get Elijah McClain back. I can't get Breonna Taylor back. I can't get Ahmaud Arbery back. I can't get Trayvon Martin back. Can't get Tamir Rice back. And the list just goes on and on. I can't get their lives back. So you shouldn't tell somebody how to deal with their trauma when they've been dealing with this. We've been dealing with this for over 400 years and we're sick and tired of it. So while I don't think looting is right, you can't tell somebody how to deal with their trauma because everybody deals with their pain differently. So that was a horrible thing for President Biden to say. What he should have did was to say that we have no place for these killings of unarmed black people in America. They need to stop immediately. I thought they were going to stop, but here we are talking about it again with Daunte Wright. When Kim Potter had her gun drawn for no reason, all because he had a warrant. And she saw he had a warrant and she got trigger happy. I'm praying for his girlfriend and his 2-year-old. Just really sad, man. And finally, an even more disturbing incident. I think I found out about this Wednesday or Thursday. An Army Sergeant, Jonathan Pentland, Columbia, South Carolina, was charged with third-degree assault after a video showed him shoving a young black man and saying he was in the wrong neighborhood. I think we have some audio of that. If y'all want to hear this, I'll let y'all hear a little bit of this. Here you go.
Talking to my wife right now. Walk away. Walk away. Check it out. You do walk away or I'm going to carry your ass out of here. What do you want to do?
Man, I don't know what is wrong with white people. I'm so glad this brother is okay. Jonathan Pentland. If you haven't seen the video, it's out there on social media. Just look up Jonathan Pentland. I don't know why he thought it was okay to harass this boy and push and shove him. Apparently, this boy lives in the neighborhood, and when I saw this video, a couple incidents came to mind. Obviously, the Ahmaud Arbery, who was just jogging in a neighborhood, and he got gunned down and attacked by some racist white man like a dog. And I also thought about the Trayvon Martin situation. When George Zimmerman tried to play neighborhood cop, police Trayvon Martin, and Trayvon Martin lost his life. So just really disturbing to see this video. And I don't know what was going on with this army sergeant where he thought it was okay to sit here and harass this young black man. I haven't heard this young black man's name, but I hope he's okay. And I'm glad they pressed charges on Jonathan Pentland. And yeah, just really disturbing to see this. And while I'm thinking about it, my prayers and thoughts are out to the people in Indianapolis where Brandon Scott Hole shot up a FedEx facility the other day. And earlier I was on Twitter and I found out something really disturbing. So a FedEx policy that they have is where the workers have to lock up their phones before they begin their shift. And I just wonder if they could have had their phones and they could have called 911 before he entered that building and killed 4 people before turning the gun on himself. Just really disturbing, all these shootings we've had recently with America starting to open back up. And we have one today in Omaha, and it's just getting out of hand. We need to ban these semi-automatic rifles, and yeah, we just need to put an end to these senseless mass shootings. So that does it for I'm Fed Up. In closing, I really just hope that the jury in the George Floyd trial does the right thing and convicting Derek Chauvin of the second-degree murder charges. To be honest, we shouldn't even be having a trial when it was clear as day what Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd when he murdered him by laying on his neck for 9 minutes. And it was just really disturbing to find out the officer who fatally shot Jacob Blake in the back and left him paralyzed went back to work. And it's just like, he should be in jail for what he did. And I just can't believe that they didn't press charges on him. And you know what really made me mad is when the police gave Kyle Rittenhouse water and applauded him for shooting 2 protesters. And that just really messed me up. And yeah, man, it's just crazy as I wrap this up. These white people, they can get away with these crimes, but Elijah McClain can lose his life just because he fit the description of somebody. All because he was wearing a mask, because he had anemia, which means his skin gets cold. And yeah, I know it was August and he had a mask on, but instead of being aggressive with him, they could have just talked to him. But instead, they took him down to the ground, and he said, "I can't breathe correctly." He started getting sick, and they gave him a fatal dose of a horse tranquilizer. And then, as we all know, a couple days later, he was brain dead. So I just really hope that these senseless killings of black people end and we can walk around freely in this world and we don't have to worry about racist cops killing us for no reason. And honestly, I just hope traffic stop becoming executions for black people. So that does it for Keith's Hot Takes. I thank y'all for listening to this. I spoke from my heart, and these situations just really have me messed up, man. So next week we'll have Demarius and Damian on, and we're gonna talk about a lot of different NFL topics leading up to the NFL draft, and I'll also preview Mount Tabor and Weddington. And join us then. Thank you. Peace.
Swear took my breath away when I heard him say he can't breathe. Kaepernick took a knee, but 12 took a life with their knees. Over 400 years they've been protesting for peace. Even protesting peacefully would get shot and get beat. How long y'all think we gon' keep going for that? Tapping in.